Hi, Shahrzad. Hi, everyone. So great to be here with you. It's a really exciting time for your company. And I know you're an inspiration to a generation of entrepreneurs, and I'm sure people will be very interested in your journey, how you got here today, what's going on with broadband TV and all the developments in the media market. There's so much going on. So I thought maybe we could start at the beginning, because your personal story is so inspiring and fascinating. And you moved here when you were 17. You were born in a revolutionary Iran, and decided to make that move in 17. Maybe you could tell us about why you decided to come to North America, to Canada.
Right. First of all, it's great to be here. Great conference, and it's kind of. I started broadband TV when I was 25, right out of school, and as a teenager, I moved to Vancouver, Canada, because I always wanted to study computer science, and my goal was to either move to the U.S. or Canada. And I think while I was at school, we kind of saw this massive shift of voice over IP, and I thought the next big thing is going to be video and video over IP. So I started the last year of school building the business model for broadband TV in terms of how we can actually be a player as it relates to this massive shift of kind of entertainment moving to obviously online at that point in time. And we kind of first started by launching our services, like we were the first set-top box provider in Canada.
You're being a little modest here, though, aren't you? Because you did move over here on your own. Completely on your own, and you didn't speak much English, I don't believe, to start off with. And so it was. It must have been. What was that like to start off with? How did you? Were you an entrepreneur from the word go? Were you just kind of born entrepreneurial, and you were just prepared to take these kind of risks?
I'm not sure if I was born, as an entrepreneur, but I did grow up in a family of entrepreneurs, and I always wanted to do something interesting in terms of solving a new problem. And
right.
When I was in school, obviously my major was computer science, so I always wanted to kind of leverage technology to solve a problem, obviously that we were facing. And given the fact that my background, I'm Persian, I come from Iran, where at that point in time when I was born, content was extremely rationed. We had access to a limited number of channels, and it was interesting when I moved to Canada to see how many channels of content was available through just cable and broadcast. And then once this shift happened from obviously traditional to digital platforms, where again content got democratized, I felt that I wanted to be part of that, to be able to empower this new generation of content creators to tell their story, to be able to kind of connect obviously all the different creators, different parts of the world, to be able to inform and educate and entertain people.
Yeah, and as we saw from the video just now, today you're the third largest provider of video and the number one networks. How have you built the company? What's been the kind of challenges of scaling for you?
We first started, when I first started broadband TV, there were no streaming services. So it was only all the players, there were the OTT players. So we became the first, set-top box provider in Canada, but then I realized that, one of the most beautiful things about digital is that you have a global, obviously, audience. So it's better for us to be able to kind of build software and technology and services to be able to service all the different creators at a global basis. And, it was very hard. I would say that we didn't get it right from the beginning. I think one of the key things that I've learned throughout the past 11 years has been, you need to pivot, right? We started as a set-top box provider, then we started focusing on building solutions and technologies and empowering large media organizations and sports leagues like the NBA and Sony Pictures to put them back in control of their IP, especially when, if you remember back in 2007 and 8, majority of the content that was being deployed on sites like YouTube, there were fan-uploaded copies of content. They were like the favorite NBA game or American Idol or Got Talent. So we first started building video fingerprinting and audio fingerprinting technology to put the content owners back in control of their IP. And then as content got democratized and individual content creators were able to actually then share their story, we started building a solutions suite of technologies to actually help empower and optimize their content to get them in front of the right audience. And then we realized, well, we can actually produce the content ourselves and we can distribute the content. So one of the reasons why we've been so successful has been, we had a really focused strategy over the past few years. We went about launching and servicing content owners and creators in specific verticals, and we made sure that our value proposition really speaks to that specific demographic. Whereas when you're looking at Disney Maker or AT&T Fullscreen, with respect to the services that they offer, is a lot broader, and they go after many different verticals. We focus on 5 verticals, and we wanted to be the best at the 5 verticals that we actually operate.
And how do you build those brands? Because I see you've got All Star Hip Hop and Sonia Reid and these people. I mean, they've got great brands and certainly defined audiences and everything. There's increasingly more and more competition out there. I mean, next week we've got the upfronts in New York, and you've got Vice and Yahoo and YouTube and HBO. Like, everybody's kind of playing this video game now. How do you kind of make sure that your people are getting their brands?
Right. It's a really good question, because building brand ecosystems and content ecosystems in the digital age is equally difficult as it was previously with respect to the traditional players. And I think there are different ways to do this. Obviously, you can do it organically, and we've done so with our gaming brand TGN and our music brands Opposition and Whimsic. We've done it through acquisition, with Hoopla Kids, which is a company that we acquired last year. We've done it through partnerships, which is what we did with journalism, where we partnered with Huffington Post to launch a citizen journalism network. But I think that what has made it different in this day and age, when you compare to what it was, in a kind of traditional days, you do need to leverage technology, data, and social to your advantage. It's no longer about, building just a strong own and operate and destination. You really need to kind of take advantage of these mega platforms like Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube, where they have billions of users, to be able to kind of connect with the audience on these platforms and to be able to build an authentic relationship with them. And I think that has what truly helped us in building these brand ecosystems and connecting with the audience. And I think the other part that is really important is, working with influencers. You have, a whole new generation of creators and influencers. Variety did a study last year where they looked at the top 10, celebrities, and, celebrity as we know it is redefined. 8 out of the top 10 celebrities in the world, and, based on, in the US, they are actually digital stars.
Right.
And what is interesting is that, when you're looking, again, in the same study, they looked at and they realized that the actual digital stars, they have 17 times more engagement than a traditional celebrity. So what you actually need to do is to really find the right influencers that speak to your brand, that where your message is aligned with theirs, to be able to not only, feature them in your content, but then actually use them as a distribution and promotion channel for your for building your content and ecosystem.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the most fascinating things about video, the way it's developed recently, and you see these a new generation of stars, moving from platforms like Vine and from YouTube, and then becoming kind of, multi-platform stars. It's been fascinating the way that's the kind of, for want of a better word, kind of professionalization of their content, and the way they've been enabled by people like yourself to reach a larger and larger audience. But going back to, because obviously you've pivoted a couple of times with your business models. How do you keep innovating in this space, and does it become more difficult as you become larger? I mean, you're a fair-sized company now. Is it more difficult to say, we need to move this way and not that way? Does it become harder for you?
Right. I think you're absolutely right. I think the larger the company gets, you need to make sure that you really have the right models in place. What I say is that, digital is a fast pace. It's really kind of, the space is evolving, the consumption trends change. You look at Snapchat. Snapchat gets 8 billion daily views for video, as much as, Facebook, even though they have 100 million, active users in comparison to 1.59 billion for Facebook. So I think it's really interesting. You need to listen to your customers. You need to look at these macro trends for consumption, and to be able to make sure you have actually a good understanding of this space, and you got to keep innovating. And I think a part of that is also about having really converged operating models. We really need to think horizontally. So as you actually, because again, digital is global, and when you actually operate, let's say in the US market, or let's say in Europe, you need to apply those learnings quickly from content production to distribution to marketing to promotion to monetization. monetization across the board, right? So you do need to stay nimble to be able to grow as quickly. And we've done this at Broadband TV. If you look at it, we've been the fastest growing network since February of 2014. Today, we reach 15.2 billion monthly views across our network, and we've been actually growing faster than every year prior. So we've kind of tried to stay nimble that way.
And what kind of trends are you looking for? I mean, what do you look out in the eco? If you're walking around here today, say, what's the kind of stuff you're looking for? What are you reading? Who do you talk to? I've heard you speak before about the importance of mentors. Mark Benioff is, amazing brain, and he's one of your mentors. I mean, where do you get your? How do you see which way the wind is blowing?
I think, I think it's very important for you to really pay attention to how consumption trends change. And I tend to kind of really interact with my nephew, not nephews, actually my cousin's kids, because kids these days, they actually consume content very differently. It's also about listening to our content creators. We work with 74,000 creators around the world, and they're all very much so millennial content creators.
Right.
So you kind of listen to what they're passionate about creating, where they want their content to be consumed, how they connect with their audiences, and then our job is to really service the content creators to become more successful by building the right technology, by building the right solutions, and coming up with services that helps them better monetize their content. So that's kind of.
So, and that's interesting. You talked about millennials and media consumption. I mean, how are they different in your experience? How do you see them relating to your content in a different way?
Right. I think, when you're looking at 2015 was really a turning point, because it was for the first time where, at a global basis, traditional players, TV and broadcast, saw a decline in global, ad spending. And, you look at, 96% of millennials are consuming online video. And within the 18 to 34 millennial demographic, they are only spending 18% consuming traditional cable and broadcast TV. So, we see great opportunity not only, monetizing content on an advertising basis, but we see massive opportunity for subscription services. We saw many of the actual new subscription services that were launched last year and obviously still this year. I see great opportunity in terms of not just monetizing content by distributing it to different platforms, but finding other ways to monetize specifically IP within your content through e-commerce, licensing, and other forms of monetization. You look at a company like WeChat in China, they have 649 million users, and it's not just actually a messaging service, right? It's an app within an app that allows the users to consume content, play games, make transactions. WeChat on Chinese New Year had more mobile transactions than PayPal in all of 2015. So the way we're actually kind of seeing how content is being consumed, how content is being actually monetized, they have connected e-commerce with video. So as you're kind of consuming video content, you can actually purchase items inside the video. So that's really interesting. You kind of look at virtual reality and augmented reality. That's another kind of interesting trend that everyone is talking about, and I think it's exciting because I don't know if you saw Gartner predicted that by 2020, this is a 2025, it's an 80 billion market, and I think augmented reality is interesting because the applications are not just limited to gaming, as we see with obviously virtual reality. It's it's applicable to entertainment, auto, medicine, obviously design and retail. So I see great opportunity for us to be able to create experiences leveraging these new mediums, especially with, I would say, AR and VR. They have truly the potential to create that ultimate human experience.
Yeah, well, we have a quick plug, but we have a VR experiment outside where we've recreated a 6x9 solitary confinement cell, and it's really worth going to have a look at. It's really moving. It's the way you can tell a story in a different way with VR is extremely exciting, isn't it? So what's next for you? What do you like? What do you? Obviously, you're really excited. It sounds like you're very excited about WeChat and messaging apps. I mean, how do you kind of spend your time? Are you looking at new platforms now? What's the kind of exciting areas you want to move into?
I think at the end of the day, for us, it's about we got to think global, social, mobile. These are the three big trends. You got to think global because you're dealing with a global audience. You got to create brands that speak to audiences, and you need to make sure that you have a proper local strategy as you expand, obviously, to new markets. Today, we are in 20 different markets around the world, and we are actually #1 in each of the markets that we operate across the verticals that we own and operate, and content that we license. So I think it's really important to be able to have the proper, smart and cost-effective content model that you can actually build across, obviously, all the markets that you operate. You need to have a proper monetization engine, beyond advertising. This is something that we are focusing on in order to be able to diversify revenue streams across, subscription, e-commerce, licensing, as well as advertising and branded entertainment. It's also about, kind of leveraging new platforms like Snapchat that have created a really, truly great mobile experience for users, and to be able to, cater and program for those platforms. Because, we talked about this earlier, digital is not just one single platform. You really need to kind of think about users on these platforms. At the end of the day, millennials, they want a flag to bear, they want a domain to own, and you really need to come up with a strategy that speaks to each of those platforms. So we spend a lot of time looking at these new platforms and making sure that we have a proper strategy for each single platform. And, finally, I would say that, social plays an important part, and, you really need to have a proper social strategy around all the brands and, verticals that you operate. And this ultimately is powered by technology and data. So we constantly invest in building technology to solve problems for content creators. We started with, obviously, detecting fan copies of content with content management, and then that evolved to channel management services for optimizing content and engagement around that content, then to solutions that we built to be able to better monetize that content. So we're going to keep investing in, finding ways to, solve challenges in a more scalable way.
Great. And if you were here today in an earlier stage of your career, I mean, what advice would you give people who are, looking to get into the media business now? Like, when someone's starting a new company now, what's your kind of entrepreneurial advice for?
I would say think big. Go after really large pools of opportunity, because you're limited to the space that you're going to cover, and it takes the same amount of time and energy to do something really big as versus going after like a small pool of opportunity. And I think the other thing is really try to nail down the value prop before you scale your business, because a lot of times we have entrepreneurs that haven't figured out the value proposition, and they scale the business, and then that becomes harder for you to pivot. Yeah. So pivot until you get it right, and then scale the business. And I think that just hire really smart people. At the end of the day, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, know what is it that you're looking for. Hire talented people and let them do their thing.
Great. Thank you so much. Great to meet you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.